regular meeting of the Maplewood Richmond Heights Board of Education to order at 7 o'clock p.m. If everyone could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and then first up, in recognition and celebration of Black History Month, we have high school student Myasia Griffin, who's going to speak to us.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good, how are you?
Great.
My name is Myasia Griffin, and I'm a senior at MRH High School. And today I want to speak about why Black History Month is important to teach and celebrate in schools, and why it matters for every student understanding of the world around them. When history isn't taught, it is lost, forgotten, and erased, and that erasure leads to inaccurate variations of history that could repeat itself over time. It's important that the youth knows their ancestral roots and heritage to pass down traditions culturally. Teaching and celebrating Black History Month ensures recognition. Just lost where I'm at. Okay. Ensures recognition of champions and debunks misinformation and stereotypes. For example, while teaching about Harriet Tubman and Rosa Parks, schools have sometimes missed important pieces of historical cultural shifts. If we don't teach the lessons racism has taught us and about overcoming it, it will repeat itself. Teaching Black history also promotes critical thinking and desire for the truth and understanding of the structural inequalities experiences amongst different races. It also teaches us safe practices for civil obedience that led to changes and allows us chances at leadership, such as during the Civil Rights Movement through peaceful protests and speeches led by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in order to thrive in communities. We need to feel a sense of belonging, and according to Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, belonging is imperative for growth. Teaching Black history fosters respect, empathy, and understanding amongst all races. While celebrating Black history, it boosts self-esteem, allows traditions to be passed down, and creates a sense of empowerment that drives growth. So personally, I come from Normandy School District, so coming here to MRH was a big cultural change for me, as this district is really diverse. I didn't really know what to expect because I was so used to being around kids that look like me. But I would say coming here was a great shift for me, and although I've had challenges of my own to overcome, this provided a space for me to have difficult but courageous conversations with many people around me. So in hopes that other young students like myself would see the room for growth around understanding other people's heritage and experiences. So now as a senior, I can say that there's definitely progress to be made in schools and their lessons, because Black history is American history. I don't believe we should just focus this 1 month on Black history, because it is just important as any other history. And
Thank you. Thank you, Myasia. We know how hard it is to get up there and do that, so thank you for doing that. All right, next up we have a student recognition. We have Noe Zamora. Noe is being recognized tonight. Noe is actually right here. He is, yeah, I don't know, should we stand up and do this? All right, okay, here, okay. That's why I printed this off. I thought of that here. All right, okay. All right. I'm gonna let you hold this. All right, Noe is a senior here at Maplewood Richmond Heights High School, and he is being recognized tonight for his leadership and advocacy in support of electric school transportation. So throughout his high school career, beginning freshman year, he has consistently encouraged the district to pursue electric buses and sustainable practices. He authored a compelling student letter in support of MRH's Ameren electric bus grant application and centered his senior capstone project on the importance of electric transportation. Thanks to his hard work and his working together with Dr. Dietrich, his capstone presentation was attended by representatives from the Eastern Missouri Alliance for Green Transportation, highlighting the impact of student voice, in particular Noe's voice, because his advocacy helped elevate the work to get these grants and contributed to MRH receiving full funding in the amount of $2.1 million for electric buses and charging infrastructure. we wanted to recognize Noe for this important contribution to our district. So congratulations. And we do have someone here tonight from the Eastern Alliance. Thank you, team, for joining us. All right, thank you, Noe. Awesome. Oh, this is your little spot. There you go. All right. Okay, next up we have the public forum. Kat. All right, thank you. Okay, first up we have James Brogan. And just as a reminder, your comments are limited to 3 minutes, and Ms. Norton will be over there, and you'll hear a buzzer and a little wave if your time runs out. So thank you.
Good evening, Board of Directors, Dr. Jameson, and everybody else here in the auditorium. Thank you. Members of the MRH School Board, thank you for volunteering your time and your willingness to take steps to ensure that our district remains one of the best school districts in the state. I am here on behalf of the MRH support staff. As you are in the midst of the budgeting process, I wanted to make sure you are aware of how the current salary step system for the custodians, bus drivers, and couriers is far below the living wage required to provide for a healthy living in the St. Louis metropolitan area. Currently, the starting base pay is $16.99 an hour. A person in those roles maxes out at step 18 and earns a maximum rate of $26.95 an hour. Projections based on the MIT living wage calculator for the 2026 indicates that a single adult in the St. Louis metro area needs to be paid $21.79 per hour. Based on this data, a person working for MRH will not reach that living wage until step 10. Note that a living wage represents the basic cost of living to cover housing, food, transportation, taxes, and health care. Additionally, please remember that the cost of living increases each year by an average of 2.4%. As you discuss the budget and salary steps for the staff and ensure that a clean and safe and learning environment for our students is imperative that you develop a salary schedule that meets, exceeds the minimum for the living wage that the steps on the salary schedule take into account. Cost of living increases adequately compensate them for their experience, skills, and know-how. As you know, my name is Jimmy. I go by Jimmy. But I need something to be explained to me and to the rest of the support staff. And I'm going to speak directly about myself on this, if I may. When I started here, and I had 37 years of maintenance experience, 27 of them in a school environment. All right. So I now have 40 years of experience in maintenance. The district's first offer to me, hold your hats, was $18.96 an hour. I came close to saying I wouldn't get a bid for that. Then someone said $19.50. Well, it ended up being $20 the day I started. I chose to take that position at that pay because at the time I had no health insurance and I needed the health insurance. And I also figured that after they'd seen who I was and what I had, they would, compensate, so to speak. When I retired from Webster University 13 years ago, I was making $25.75 an hour. Now I make $23.68 an hour. Doesn't seem fair. Why does the school district make the support staff use vacation or PTO during Christmas break? Please don't tell us the district can't afford it. When I worked for the university, which received no tax dollars from the government, we got the week of Christmas off paid, and it was Webster University. It wasn't like it was SLU or WashU. Again, please explain to the support staff why, unless you call a calamity day for now, we have to come in during inclement weather or have to use our vacation or PTO. If it is considered unsafe for students, why is it safe for support staff? Having said that, I understand that maintenance and custodial workers have to come in to clean up in order to be safe for the students to come back the next day. To us, we believe we should be paid when the school is closed, plus our time and a half that we are called in to work. This is hazardous duty. Nobody wants to do it, but it has to be done. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you. All right, next we have Catherine Whitehouse.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm grateful for your time and attention. My name is Catherine, or Nurse Catherine, as students and their families know me. I've had the honor of caring for our MRH students at the elementary since 2017. I was moved to speak tonight by the support staff who've spoken before me. I loved hearing from the last board meeting that the board is open to exploring ways to increase connection and dialogue with our staff. I stand here tonight to invite you to know more than just the names and titles of your staff, to learn their stories that no survey can capture, to understand why our staff deserves to feel valued and well compensated, to witness the tireless work of our custodial, maintenance, buildings and grounds, and technology staff each day, but also in the summers, on school breaks, snow days, and AMI days, to hear the sounding boards that our secretaries and administrative assistants are for families, to be greeted by the familiar smile of our food service staff and bus drivers, to feel the connection and care that our nurses provide and that our Discover Club staff provide to our youngest learners at ECC, and to know our trusted TAs and our students and staff, as our students and staff do. Those who step in at a moment's notice and provide a safe place of belonging and continued learning when our teachers need to step away. We don't have enough time tonight to share the beautiful and unique ways which we've all come to call MRH home, but we do have time to address how we compensate our support staff and ensure that they feel seen, heard, and valued. I understand the headaches and challenges you face as our financial stewards amid funding cuts, but our support staff are facing headaches and hurdles of their own as we continue to feel the rising costs, as we all continue to feel the rising costs of groceries, medications, housing, and supporting our families. When you run the numbers this budget season, I encourage you to run them again at a higher rate and wage than you would imagine, in an effort to not only do the right thing by our support staff, but to honor their history and loyalty to MRH while making history at the same time. MRH doesn't strive to be average. Our staff, teachers, and students prove that time and time again. Please consider using the lens of excellence and not average when you build and approve the budget this season for the upcoming school year, to provide all staff with a living wage, honor years of experience, and retain the skills of the amazing staff who walk the halls with us and care deeply for our students. How lucky a district we are to have staff on each campus whose roots run deep in Maplewood, Richmond Heights, who choose to be here, who pour themselves into their work, providing a foundation for our future generations, and who look to retire from the place that helped them build their own. Please live out our mission so we can reach our full potential in order to create a better community. Increasing the support staff budget will deliver strong returns on investment and build institutional knowledge that helps districts thrive. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you. And then next up, we have Rachel Lindsay.
Good evening, excuse me. Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Jamison, everyone. My name is Rachel Lindsay. I live in Richmond Heights, and I have 2 kids in high school. In the coming weeks, you are going to have frank and difficult discussions about next year's district budget. In addition to annual debates around operating costs and other expenses, I'm concerned about how decisions from Jeff City this legislative term could affect our teachers' ability to teach and our students' ability to learn. I want to speak directly to 3 topics, very briefly, that I hope you keep in mind as you enter this season of budget deliberation. Open enrollment, the special school district, and MRH's commitment to integrative learning. Last week, the Missouri Senate advanced a bill to establish open enrollment in the state. Senate Bill 971 would permit students to enroll in any public school, whether they are residents of that district or not. While it would not mandate that schools accept all transfers, it would mean that MRH could not guarantee that kids in our district would enrolling in public schools would attend our schools. This legislation has the support of both chambers of the State House and the governor. I don't know exactly what adoption of open enrollment would mean for MRH. I don't think anyone does. But if passed, it would certainly disrupt district budgets and require difficult decisions about district resources. In your deliberations, I urge you to maintain commitments to educational equity, inclusive pedagogy, and a culture of safety, trust, and openness as described in our district mission, vision, and core values. House Bill 2933 is another current piece of legislation that, if adopted, could adversely affect MRH's commitment to educational equity. This bill would permit school boards to withdraw from the special school district, which provides essential services in every one of our school buildings. Nearly 1 in 4 MRH students are on an IEP or 504 plan. My family has personally benefited from the cooperation between MRH and SSD, and I know many other families who have as well. Simply put, SSD provides services that a small district like ours cannot possibly replicate. I'm worried that even if MRH continues to partner with SSD while others opt out, that this legislation would remove services that so many of our families currently rely on. I urge you to be proactive in not only maintaining our partnership with SSD, should this legislation come to pass, but also in leading other districts in coordinated response. I'll conclude with this. Both of these pieces of legislation would affect teaching and learning across all of our schools. Programs like Seed to Table, the ECC Studio, 6th grade field trips, middle school expeditions, college and career readiness programs, and all the other ways that our teachers and support staff work every day to reach and teach every student are what makes MRH exceptional. The district's decades-long commitment not only to providing these opportunities, but to making them accessible to all families, regardless of circumstance, must be a priority as we move forward. We can be responsible with the budget and also be true to these commitments. I'm hopeful that district leaders will work together to ensure that what we love about MRH survives these present challenges. Thank you.
All right, that concludes our public forum. Next up, we have consent agenda. May I get a motion?
Motion to approve. Good. Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion, any questions? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, next up we have student communications with our PAL board report.
Hello everybody, I'm sure you know who I am by now. So, PAL Board, we don't have a whole lot to present to you tonight, unfortunately. We're still getting back from some snow days and a lot of scheduling things that have happened. But the biggest things that we want to point out is our student board forum. So, I believe it is at the end of March. I think it's the 26th, we are holding a forum at MRH High School in the theater, and we want everybody that is running for the board to come, anyone interested in seeing what these candidates actually have to offer. This is a student-led forum, so we are drafting questions, and we will be there asking all the candidates all these questions. So if you are interested and you want to hear what your running mates have to say, and the community, we invite all of you to come if you can. It is March 26th, and I believe it is at 7 p.m.? 6, okay. So yeah. And we are planning currently on meeting with all the other schools in the district, the ECC, the elementary, and the middle school. As soon as we get that done, we would be able to give you a lot more information on what the other schools necessarily need from the board. And the other big thing is meeting with Dr. Dietrich and the operations department, and because of the new furniture that is going in place at MRH Middle School and High School. I believe that we are piloting some new furniture after spring break in mid-March. We're going to be piloting it in some of the freshman classes, so physics, freshman world history, just to see that. And based off student feedback, we will be using that furniture more or less throughout the high school next year by purchasing it in, I believe, the summer. So, yeah, any questions?
For the forum, I know I had a couple of people ask me on the questions that for the public to ask. I know in past years you could ask questions at the event, but now I saw there was a link to also submit them before. So how are public questions going to be handled?
Yeah, so we have a list of questions from previous years just because it's like a general list of questions, but the public can also submit questions. We'll look at them, make sure they're like good, applicable questions, and then, based off that, we'll put them in the list.
You going to take them day of then, of the event, or do you know yet? To be determined.
Yeah, I think we'll have some people
Okay.
standing in the audience just to take some questions.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah.
And it will also be live streamed, I believe, right?
Yes,
So
we
if
are also-
you can't attend in person, it'll be recorded, so.
Yes, and I am told that the live streaming is hopefully going to be a little bit better in terms of video and audio quality and, as opposed to some school board meetings. Yeah.
All right.
I was also told to highlight the Play It Forward game tomorrow night. We are helping out an MRH alum and a current MRH student with some financial difficulties. We also have the women's hygiene product drive coming up soon, and the spring play is March 5th, 6th, and 7th at 7 p.m.
You did my job for me on my announcement, so thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Up next, we have Prop B updates with Navigate.
It's a tough act to follow.
Yeah, I did.
I am Nick Feeler with Navigate Building Solutions, obviously not Ray, so I apologize that you not get Ray, but my goal is to make this brief so the bar is set high for next time Ray does this update. So I assume everyone has the report in front of them. It's not pulled up there, but largely on the second page was showing the current projects. Everything is green and complete with the exception of the concrete restoration and replacement work, and that is targeted to be completed over spring break as well. So happy to report everything is planned to be and projected to be on target as far as schedule goes, and then under budget with some realized savings. So overall cost report and financial report, there we go. So overall cost and financial report, largely unchanged from last report. Obviously, the big push was summer 25 projects, but total bond projects still remains just over 13 million with the approved to-date number around 3.1. Future projections is 8 million, which part of that would be the furniture that was just spoken of previously. And then there's savings and contingency of just under 1 million. So total forecasted bond amount right now about just over $13 million. January highlights, I won't read everything per se, but just some things that were completed in the month of January. The Burns & Jones, the field and track contract, that was closed out. The tech camera and access control contract was also closed out. The big thing too I would also highlight is the climbing wall. That the submittals were approved on that, the permit was approved as well, and that work is targeted to begin over spring break. On the design projects, the seed to table project that is currently out on the street right now into the market, that is planned to bid next Tuesday. There's been a lot of interest in that project from general contractors, which is a great thing. So hopefully next month we'll be reporting some exciting news regarding that. The kitchen projects, I think it's part of, whether it was part of the consent, but the early equipment, that's coming before you tonight for approval. And then the GC package for that is targeted to go out to bid next week and receive bids around the 17th of March. Another item I'll highlight again on the HVAC, the equipment is before you tonight, and then we'll be targeting an HVAC prime package, targeting receiving some proposals on that next week. With an idea of coming before you next month for approval of that and prep for some summer work. So some high level, hopefully I kept that brief enough, but open to any questions that I might be able to field.
Questions? All right.
Thank you.
Great job. Thank you. Okay, next we have up study items. The first is the cafeteria equipment purchase contract by Dr. Dietrich.
Thank you for having me. The The first thing I'm going to point out about the cafeteria equipment, and I'm shocked that Noe did not bring this up. I know that it was a big PAL idea to have a water and ice dispenser in the cafeteria. We've been able to purchase one, and it will be installed over spring break. So those seniors who were really pushing for it and really wanted it before they graduated, they will have that in the cafeteria. I know there's some teachers at the middle school, high school that are very excited about that as well. But we're very excited about getting that done over spring break ahead of the actual renovations. And actually, it'll take a little bit of cost off because we were able to procure it at a reduced cost. But cafeteria equipment, the big thing here is we actually, looking through our contract with Chartwells, they had 44,000. I think in the agenda it says 48. After we really went in, studied everything, there was another item that they purchased last year that took a little bit off, but we're at 44,107 that Chartwells will be kicking in to the purchase. Last year, when we looked at cafeteria equipment, we only looked at the high school, but Bond Architects, Navigate, we're really good at saying, hey, we really need to do a full assessment of all of our things in there. So our total cost is going to be $386,222, and we were bid last year $500,000 just for the high school. So this is great news for us. Any questions?
I noticed too, I thought I saw in the information, which I think is nice, is that it looked like the equipment's gonna be consistent through, so the repair and maintenance is easier and perhaps would allow us to do some of it.
And not just maintenance, but sometimes we share staff in between buildings. So, you know, having to teach them, you know, this is how you use this oven in this building, but we have a different oven in this building. We'll be consistent throughout. And actually, that was no additional cost, because if we would have kept the same oven, it was moving, and there was a $50,000 electrical cost to make that happen with a feed. Well, the new oven is $50,000, so it's just a wash for us.
I like that, I thought that was cool. And I believe, was the ice dispenser one of those public speaking class speeches we got, I think? So they will, you'll have to pass that along to your public speaking class that it worked.
Yeah, and we told the PAL board that it's gonna look a little rough around that ice machine, because we're not gonna repair floor and everything for 3 months later. We're gonna tear up a part of that area. But it's adding no additional cost for us to do that early for the students.
That's awesome, thank you. Any other questions? No. All right, thank you. Next up, HVAC.
HVAC. This is another area under Prop B where we look like we're going to experience some savings, primarily due to the advice of McClure Engineering, Corrigan Clark, and Navigate. So instead of going to a vendor and purchasing the equipment from them and having them do the install, we've done that separately. This year it was estimated it would be around $475,000. We're at $426,146. One of the things that I really appreciate Navigate told me before we put out the bid was they said, make sure in this contract it says that you can go with water source heat pumps or the rooftop units, and you can just purchase one or both from any vendor. And we were able to, I think that idea was a $58,000 savings. So we really appreciate them having that idea. So we ended up going with Daikin for our water source heat pumps. Is really good because that's what we already have. So our guys are trained on that. It'll help with long-term maintenance. And then Aeon units is something that we already have in that building. So we were afraid about switching to a different brand, having to retrofit. Aeon came in at the lowest bid, so we will not have any retrofitting. The other thing that McClure did is we're going from 5 rooftop units to 3 because they're just going to change a little bit of ductwork, and we should see not just savings for purchasing, but long-term savings because we're only powering 1 more unit instead of 3. So, questions?
Is this the HVAC at all the schools or just the high school?
So the water source heat pumps are primarily at the high school, and the rooftop units are at the ECC.
Okay, thank you.
And along with that, we'll also be updating controls
Okay.
so that we can actually remotely switch things, because at the ECC we can't currently do that.
Oh, next, like when you're not in the building, you can control it. Oh, nice.
Or do setbacks on the weekend and at night. So it should be a cost savings for utilities.
Yeah.
They're estimating in those buildings 15 to 20% by being able to do setbacks.
Thank you. All right, well,
It's me again.
yeah, second to last of yours. Prop B furniture pilot purchase.
All right. So furniture, we are ordering our pilot furniture now. So what that means is, as part of our program with Circadia, the pilot furniture, we were able to do one classroom per building. Okay? But when they took us to Grand Rapids, Michigan, we talked them into doing one classroom per building plus a science lab, primarily because science labs tend to be the most expensive to outfit. So we were just in their ear for quite a few days talking to them, and they agreed to that. So this $88,000 is not what we're spending for everything, obviously. So I think we have like $1.04 million allocated for that, plus some contingency. But this is just for those 5 classrooms. So the plan is have these classrooms done. The teachers can be in them, the students can be in them, and then also allowing other teachers to go and teach in those spaces so that they can see it. And then we get that feedback. So it is a relatively slow process, but we really want to do this right. You know, I know there was a concern of, you know, this was an immediate need. We have addressed some of those needs through donations, you know, with other schools getting chairs, and we still need some, but we've been able to put some Band-Aids on it, and I would consider this more of surgery towards going towards questions?
So I guess to that, because we did, when we were here, you know, doing the Prop B stuff, we had actually students and faculty come and give some public statements about, especially the chairs that you mentioned. So we've replaced some. Do we still have a fair amount that are replaced? And so it sounds like we're not going to be getting new furniture for like a whole nother year. Is that correct?
The idea is to truly, like, we've put some stop gaps in place.
Okay.
And that's not to say that we've filled every gap.
Okay.
But the idea is to really study how this furniture is interacting with our learning environments, so that we're making wise decisions. Because we don't want to order, you know, 10 classrooms at the high school, and then they say, wow, we really didn't need this storage, or we didn't need, you know, these chairs didn't quite work that way, and shift to another one. This will allow us to really study the furniture, see how it interacts, and then make our large purchases.
And are we replacing, when we add furniture, is it going to be only like the whole room? I guess my question is, if we're going to be mixing some of this furniture with existing furniture, are we just replacing classrooms?
So we're replacing classrooms.
Okay.
You know, when you start thinking about building a cycle of replacement, and you start mixing old with new, that's when it really gets messy.
Okay. And so, just sorry to clarify, so the study will take place, it started after spring break and will continue next the fall?
Yeah, so this spring break, we already have one classroom done, so out of the 5 classrooms,
Okay.
we want to make sure it's done right. So we're actually emptying the classroom, we're going in, we're painting the walls, we're waxing the floors. We want it to look like, what's it going to look like new?
Okay.
And then, yes, the study will continue into fall, we'll place an order, and then the goal is to have that furniture delivered in the summer.
To start the 27th.
Yes.
Okay, cool, thank you. Any other questions?
And I would say that the bonus behind that is then that money is still sitting in bond, and we can collect interest off of that, so, yeah.
Thank you.
More playgrounds. Lastly, I do want to thank, we've got Arthur Floyd and Carolyn Green here from BRS tonight. They are 2 of the architects that came on for ECC Design. When we brought you the ECC Design packet with the Architect Toolbox, this was part of it. We asked them to not only look at redesigning or renovating the space in the basement of the library. We had a meeting in there the other night. It's loud. There's basketball practice going on above it. You know, we have 2 of the board members that were in attendance there that night, but it was loud. It's not a very...
You made it loud.
What's that?
Didn't you ask them to jump on the floor?
It's loud. Prove it, Trent. You sent a text right there.
They are here. They are here. It started at a very specific time.
Well, you thought that was students. It was actually the preschool teachers up there.
Oh, it's a good workout.
But part of it was we asked them to do a feasibility of where could we do a building like this? We ran into a little bit of a hiccup because we realized with new regulations, if you do an addition on a building, we have to make sure that that is a storm shelter. But due to the location and it's hid by the other buildings, we spoke with the fire marshal, who is the authority having jurisdiction in Maplewood, who is the one person who can say, you know what, yes, I can allow you to build this without it being a storm shelter, because it would go from 2,000 square feet to 3,800 square feet, $1 million price tag to, we didn't even look at it because we knew it wasn't even in the ballpark. But this is a rendering of what we could do. And I would say that BRS has done a great job with giving us a plan for the renovation of that space in the basement, but it's still a library in the basement. So these were some renderings of what that could look like. And we brought this to our MOT meeting last week, or I'm sorry, our board resources meeting, and they said, hey, let's bring that next week. So we got busy on a presentation and got these all loaded and asked Arthur and Carolyn to be here. So the big question is cost. And just a reminder, this is out of bond, so it has to go towards capital projects. But the renovation, we're looking at roughly $386,000 for the renovation. The addition would be about $1.1 million, so considerably more. But I would say that it gives you a library that is much more you're able to be proud of and put kids in it, and it's inspirational. So big question is, where does that money come from? And I want to be transparent that this isn't a difference of $1.1 million to $386,000, because we still need to do some work in that space, right? We decide, hey, what's going to go down there, and we have some ideas. So I would say that if we did that, we talked about the budget that we still need to keep for that basement, whether it's for a minor project, is probably $150,000 to $200,000, because there's still some work we would need to be down there. So you're looking at, you know, but then the big question is, where does that money come from? I want to shout out Tanya Jonas. Those are just some really cool art that she threw on there. But the district has received approximately $2 million in premium funds on the budget, or on the bond. We're sitting right now around $200,000 in interest from the bond, $969,000 in contingency and savings. Now, some of that contingency we're going to need for projects. I'm really going to be shocked if it hits $969,000, because we've really been doing well with keeping things in budget. And then $389,000 was previously allocated for field lighting, and we can redistribute that to this project as well.
So you're saying that we have about $3 million and $3.4 million, possibly?
That is the money that is possibly there for it, right? So, because there's $2 million in premium funds. So when we received the premium funds, I received an email from the business office that said, hey, we received these premium funds. What are some additional projects that you would want to do? You know, there was, you know, a lot of things that came out of our MOT. You know, one of them was actually, I'm sorry, before the bond was passed, we actually talked about this project. Mm-hmm. What would it take? But when we knew what our dollar amount was, we actually cut that back and said we're going to do a renovation instead of an addition. So this is something that was actually ready to go to community for the bond, but when we figured out all the other things that we had to do, we had to cut this out and make it a renovation instead of an addition.
Yeah, we talked in the for our resources meeting about how you could renovate the existing library space into something functional for the ECC as well, so that there could be an additional function beyond the new library space if we did this. It would still cost, like I think you said, $150,000 to $200,000 to renovate, as opposed to $389,000 or $386,000 for the renovation of the library if we did it in place.
Yeah, and I think the other thing we talked about was just the ability to make that a new community space, because they would have an exterior entrance, and right now you have, you know, some more limited opportunities in the district as far as that have easy access into the building, easy access out that we can control. So.
And then the storm shelter, we talked last time about 5 years. We had to put it into a 5-year plan. We still have to build the storm shelter eventually?
No,
or no?
so what they want
Or
to see
we're getting a
is-
waiver from the fire department, fire
so
chief.
they want to see that, and Trivers already has done this, so Trivers is the architect group that's doing the 5-year and 10-year outlook. That was something that they had already looked at, was high school has a storm shelter, right? So now what does that look like for middle school and high school? I'm sorry, for elementary and ECC. So they are looking at that and like a feasibility of where that could potentially go, but that is 5-10 years down the road.
So we do have to build one.
If we were to do another addition, we would have to do a storm shelter.
Okay. So that's an added cost down the road.
Are there any other projects that have come up that we think may need some of these funds, or are we sort of out? Like, so I guess my question is, we could use some of it for this, or is there something else we may need to use some of this money for? Does that make sense?
I'm just gonna speak from the top of my head of like what I know was on that list that kind of got kicked to the playgrounds.
Okay.
Right now, we have, I would say it's a pretty critical need to make sure that they're accessible for students.
Yeah.
Especially at the ECC. We have a playground surface at the elementary that has to get done this summer. It's chunky and it's pulling up. It's a pour and play surface. It has not lasted as long as we expected. It's out of warranty. But I would say playgrounds and surfaces is a big one. We talked about it a little bit the other night at our board resources meeting. And I was asked to get a proposal together, and I'll have that by March.
Yeah, I mean, it would be great to be able to do this, but I guess it would be helpful in the context of like if there's other monies that need to be used for other stuff, just so we get a picture. Yeah, but the drawings look really lovely.
And I would say for this project, it's, we have a lot of the work done for getting the renovation of the basement done, but there is still some work to do. So that's some cost that if we did decide to move to an addition, we could stop work there. But we really can't just stop because that's scheduled to do this summer.
Okay.
Where if we move to this project, then it's stop and really plan out when does that happen. And it would probably be months down the road because the design is much more intensive. So we would need to, we can't say, hey, we need this ready by summer.
Right.
They're not going to, even if they're superheroes, but they're not getting that done.
Yeah, actually, I was just going to comment on that point, that we would need to decide sooner rather than later. So we either go ahead with the current plan, or we're going to put things off for a year and put this in 2027. So that is an important consideration. I would strongly recommend that everybody on the board go visit the space. If you haven't been to the existing library in a while, to go down there. And because it's not just the noise issue, there's a variety of issues that the existing plan would fix, as well as this new alternative plan would fix. So I would say, better than looking at the pictures, I think going down to the space was super helpful for our resources committee. So.
You can hire some kids to stone.
Yeah, I told you, that was the ECC teachers.
Mike, I know we surplused property this evening as well. Does the projected sale of property figure into, is that funding in your mind already earmarked for something, or could that potentially be here?
That would be
as
a
well?
great question for the business office of Dr. Jameson.
All right.
My job is to surplus it and sell it. I don't
Okay.
know. Yeah.
Last question, timing, how readily could this be accomplished, and when would you plan on trying to start on construction if you were to build new?
Yeah, I would say because of the proximity to classrooms and where it's located, it would be, if we do the renovation, it's this summer. If we do the addition, it's the following summer.
Okay.
Yeah, I think just, it would be pretty intensive to have right next to classrooms, and I don't think that would be fair to the students or the teachers. Where if we had a good summer to go in and then get it all under shell, and then the kids come back and you can work on the interior stuff. Is that accurate?
And I forgot about Loretta. Does Loretta have any questions down there on the computer box? I don't know. They just pipe in, Loretta, if you do. She is there, right?
Yeah, she's
Okay. I forgot about that.
We have proof of life.
All right. Anyone else? Oh, thank you, Dr. Dietrich.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Board Policy Batch 2025A, second read.
Good evening, Board. Bringing back for a second read, Policy Batch 2025A. As was last month, there were 5 policies. I did receive a question in regards to one of the policies, which was DFA. One of the policies for DFA will be rescinded, but the question was in regards to whether or not adopting the policy would ensure that we will be following the Missouri State Treasurer's model for investment policy, and adopting the policy will actually do that per our policy editor. I do want to bring to the board's attention one additional modification. We received some questions in regards to policy IGBCA and the recommendation to transition language from students in transition liaison from McKinney-Vento liaison. So the decision was made to keep the previous language for modification versus making the modification for the suggested language. So that's the only change that has been made from read 1 to 2. At this time, I welcome any questions you may have.
Questions? Thank you. All right, then next up, we have Board Policy EHBD by Dr. Irwin, the first read.
Please hold while we process your request and I pull up the items that we need.
Okay. Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Jameson, admin, and those joining us this evening. Presented this evening is our first read through policy EHBD, which concerns AI, artificial intelligence. This policy was introduced last school year, but was not adopted at that time, so additional language and revisions could be considered. The board has previously been introduced to a draft of our district's proposed implementation plan associated with this policy. The version before you incorporates edits recommended by MRH as well as revisions coming from MSBA. Unless there are any clarifying questions, that is my update. Do you have any questions?
I was reading through this, and it says that the AI coordinator will develop the AI use plan. Will there be like some sort of student engagement? I don't know if you have that included or you can't include that, but will there be student engagement in the creation of this AI use plan?
Yes, so the draft that we've put forward has recommendations for feedback from stakeholders, including students, other staff, and one of the things that we can do following the adoption of policy is add that to our plan. Part of building the first draft of that plan, I will add, did include some random student feedback. So what we did was we sent random surveys to students across the district and got some clarification on, or not clarification, but just background knowledge on how AI is currently used personally or through education, and used that as part of what we put into that plan. But definitely moving forward, that would include the revision of any procedures that we do with students and staff involved in that process.
I had a question because I think when we talked about the plan, we focused on student, use. I noticed this says like employees can be disciplined or terminated. So, I was sort of trying to go back to the plan and because I think they work together. So how do we envision employee use monitored? Is it, because it says student and staff must be transparent about how and when AI tools are used. So does that mean if like an employee uses AI to write an email, like they'll have to put it? Like, I'm just curious about the employee piece.
I don't have good information
Okay.
for that right now. That would be something that we would have to do some research on, I believe, and discuss with any groups that we do put together. And that might be also conversations with other departments. Certainly HR would be involved in that if it came to something that went up to disciplinary action. But we don't have anything in place right now with specifics to like if, putting in like a disclaimer in email or signature, for example, that this was created by AI.
Okay, because my concern is that if we have language in there about employees being terminated and making sure that like it's clear to people what would cause that. And I think the plan focuses mostly just on students, but there are some references, so I just wanted to. And then the only other question I had, and this may be because we did it in the plan, but there was the removal of the annual review. Is that because we put language in the plan about review?
It is my understanding that the removal of that annual plan was a recommendation from MSBA. However, it does not mean that we can't review the plan as needed. I think it's just more along, again, I'm not the expert on that particular reason why that was removed, but I believe it has something to do with the fact that this is an ongoing process and maybe yearly is not
enough. Right, okay,
correct.
that's what I was hoping. I think maybe, and I'll have to go back and look in the plan, we touched on that.
But I can find out from MSBA or ask why that recommendation.
I think as long as we have somewhere that we will review it, I think that was my only concern, is that there's not a requirement to review it. And it maybe we addressed it in the plan and said, and can anyone remember, it maybe it's like as things come up, you're supposed to review it, but okay.
As a quick follow-up to what you just said, so I'm reading here the student-facing generative AI definition. So does that necessarily include use in like by teachers and instructional material as student-facing?
Can you say that again?
Does the student-facing generative AI include use by like teachers and staff, like in instruction of students?
Yes, and
Okay.
part of the plan would include education for students and staff of what that looks like, appropriate use, and the like. But that, yes, to answer your question, yes, that includes those.
And will there be like a curriculum thing along with that as well?
I can't speak to the curriculum piece, but definitely part of the plan will include what resources are vetted or recommended. No, recommend is probably not the right word, but the resources that are vetted and can be used at MRH, and then of course any training or education that comes with that.
No, can I ask a follow-up?
Yeah, or what Dr. Owen said, like, what is allowed, what's not allowed, that sort of thing.
Like how you all are educated on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we definitely are looking at whether it's through asynchronous learning, synchronous, or all, whatever means necessary to make sure that there are learning opportunities addressed at the student and staff level. With regards to AI, to call it true curriculum, I'm not sure that I can make that determination, but definitely things that would supplement the curriculum and instruction process.
So there's an AI coordinator, and now we're talking about adding curriculum potentially. Is there a budget impact for adopting this policy?
At this time, I see no budget impact, but I would have to do some more.
Just think about it.
Sure. It's a real thing.
So most districts, Trent, are actually using their tech coordinators as the AI coordinator. So at this time, we are not adding an additional person for the position.
Okay. You're adding responsibility though, right? So it's work.
Any other questions? No? All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, Next up, we have admin communications. We have our building goal updates by building principals. Looks like Ms. Huffman is first this time.
So before they get started, just a reminder that this particular item aligns to MSIP 6, particularly for the board leadership goals, where we provide updates on student outcomes for progress monitoring throughout the year. Ms. Huffman?
Am I controlling my presentation tonight with Dr. McGee being gone?
Oh, turn mine off, sorry.
I can pull it up.
You got,
Yes.
oh, I just tried to connect. Ooh, that's me. You want me to do it?
Yep, knock yourself out.
Got it. Good evening, everyone. Oops, I did the wrong thing. Slideshow. There we go. Good evening, everyone. Excited to give you our mid-year, if you will, update for MRH High School. Nicole Huffman, principal. And we'll start with, and you've received this, so just our academic goals. So looking at our NWEA, we really focused in on our student subgroups. And we saw our student subgroups hit a 44% target rate for reading and a 61% target rate combined for math for our student and our student groups on NWEA, which is great. So that's the percentage of students that actually met their goals so far this year. So we are on track for that. And then our other academic goal, focus in on our assessments for the end of course exam, the ACT and the AP. Right now, our measurement is our NWEA exam. There's no really great way to measure some of these things, so we used our on-track percentage of students meeting that benchmark for NWEA, so 47% for math, which is a combined, and then reading 68%. I will say that each of our teachers, we actually just went through pre-ACT data today, looked at our sophomores, and they took the pre-ACT in October with an 18.1 subset score so far, which is good. So that's a good place to start. We started looking at what are those skills that students need to be successful on this exam. We also had a nice conversation about 74% of our students are college bound, either 2-year or 4-year. So that's important for us to really look at this test and consider how we might help our students. We also implemented our ACT help during our academic lab time. So we do have that happening as well. Also, we partnered with WashU, so we have a Saturday version. We have a lot going on to help there. And in all of our AP classrooms, each of our teachers are amazing by using the AP release items. So they're using those exams, they're giving students exposure to the test itself, how it's worded, how it's asked, and then going over each of those answers and then really using our AP Central to help our students there. Culture and climate. So currently right now, our goal just said that we're going to increase, and we did increase. So that would be met. We need to be a little bit more strategic next year with probably a point, a guesstimation there, but currently right now, parents increased from a 2.5 to a 2.93 on those questions. Students, you can see that they increased to a 2.69, technically an increase because it was a 2.6, and 2.7 for staff went up to a 2.95, which is great. So across the board, we increased in almost every single one of those areas as I looked at some of the subset scores. We still have some work to do though. We're really trying to dig into that student data to try to really understand what it means to be recognized. We've been working on our community circles this year and really asking those questions of students, specifically like, is it about a tangible reward? Is it about incentives? Are those going to work? And it's really interesting to hear the responses. So we've been working as a staff once we have those responses to put some things in place. And then our proportional attendance rate, we're trying to go to an 83%. Flu and COVID are not our friends right now. We are down, but we are on track. We're at an 81.7. We still have some work to do, but we are taking, our attendance has taken a hit this last month for sure. By the end of the year, 100% of teachers embedding an apprenticeship experience once a semester. Proud to report that we're on track for that. We have 100% of our teachers that are doing one of our 8 subset areas for semester 1 have embedded that. And then increasing our graduation rate from 98.9 to 100. We're on track. 100% of seniors have a plan for graduation. So when we meet our grade level teams, 100% of our seniors have a plan to get across that line. So, and just some updates on some of the shifts that I shared at the first session. So we are working on with our SIS attendance, SIS administrator, Marvin. He is trying to find us a unique way to get our attendance information out to parents via letter, via PowerSchool.
So we're actually working on some of that, and not just if you're not at 90%, but then also celebrating our students who have and who are meeting the attendance mark. And transition, we have a lot of transition activities already planned and already in place. So some of our eighth graders have met with our freshmen already and done some student panels during their advisory time. We have our activity fair planned again for May, and then we also have a parent meeting that we also have planned, and we'll also do our home visits as well. Tier 1 instruction, really focusing in on those engagement strategies and techniques and checking for understanding. Proud to report at our recent admin council walkthroughs, we had an 87% in rate of every student doing a check for, every teacher doing a check for understanding within the classroom level, so that was great. So we all got to see that in place and going. So like I shared, we're working on those engagement techniques. We have a different strategy each month that we focus on, and then we track data and talk about that. And we're really focusing in on those student-centered practices on the honeycomb, utilizing our data to modify instructional responses at the classroom level. Specifically, we have taken our grade level meetings and we've identified a group of students who might need some intentional intervention or supports, and we have plans in place. And then creating a system for increasing student voice and recognition, continuing with our monthly community circles, doing our town hall, working with our student groups. Part of one of the things that we're doing coming up, those of you who are parents in our building right now know that we're getting ready to head to the movies to celebrate Black History Month, and that's based on some student feedback who said, you know, we don't feel like we are really recognizing this the way that we should. So we're stopping and we're taking everybody to go see this and have a good community circle talk about it. We have a guest speaker coming in. So we're really hearing that student voice and trying to make some intentional steps in the right direction. And then Fun Fridays and community events. We really need to do some revamping with our Fun Fridays. We don't know that they were that fun. So based on student feedback. So we need to revamp those. And we've also defined our metaphor at the classroom level. What does it look like at the classroom level? We oftentimes hear, you know, school is apprenticeship, and we think outside our walls, right? But what does that look like, and how do we begin with our freshmen about embedding some of these experiences at that level? So, what questions might I answer for you?
Yes, just a quick question. Back on slide 2, could you just help me understand? You have a baseline there of the end of course algebra,
Yes.
51%, algebra 1, 51, algebra 2, 100%, etc. So the 47.7%, which you have under the current NWEA score, or I guess the percentage that are at advanced or proficient. So does that mean, is that like an average of Algebra 1 and Algebra 2? Or
Yes, it's an average of all of our math together, Algebra 1, Algebra 2. But the interesting part is that the way that NWEA tracks it is, it says that a student is at benchmark as if they're achieving at 60%, if they're in the 60th percentile rank.
Got it. Yeah.
So, but then also the coordinating part is when you think about the Algebra 1 EOC in particular, students scoring at about 40% are proficient on the Algebra 1 EOC. So there's a little bit of a difference between some of those pieces.
I mean, at the present time, we have 40% of students in Algebra 1 advanced or proficient. Is that what you said?
No.
Okay.
Let me try to reword. The way that NWEA measures it is different than the way that the state measures it. So NWEA, this number here, the 47.7, is that 47.7% of our students in math are in the 60th percentile.
Or higher.
Which to NWA they call at benchmark.
Got it.
Okay. The EOC, if a student scores 40%, they are considered advanced or they are considered proficient.
So they're different tests.
So it's two different. There's a 20% gap between what one test considers proficient versus another test.
Got it. And so the NWEA test result is pointing you to the likelihood of meeting the EOC score in what, May? Is that when the EOC is given?
Yes, and we did take a winter assessment, and we did see some growth in our government that would hit this goal.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have the ECC.
Okay. Dr. Stansel.
Good evening, everybody.
Evening.
Dr. Tanisha Stansel, principal of the ECC. I always have to start by giving a shout out to my current ECC, former ECC staff, and people online. I'm here to just give our middle of year goals and to give you a quick update on our literacy grant that we were working through over this past year. So we're doing a really great job on our goals for overall. We are making some great gains in literacy across the board. Kindergarten moved from 55, did not have a baseline because they were in kindergarten, and we are not doing just achievement, we're doing growth to make sure all kids are growing, and we're doing the differentiation of learning to make sure all kids are moving. So they are now at 66%, which is an amazing start. For our first grade, they went from 55% to 60%, but we actually were able to get those who are able to read independently from 23% to 54%. So that is a huge win for us, that many students became readers. And then our second graders went from 70% to 77%. For math, our first graders also did not have a baseline because it was their first time taking it when we look in terms of growth. So they are going to be at 75% as of the winter. And our second graders were at 62% to start, and now they're at 51%. And I know everybody, just like me, had questions, what happened. When you look at illustrative, it spirals. And so, and teachers look at the units that they've taught. Right now they're teaching them as they should in order, and the standards spiral from unit to unit. And so we are hoping that in knowing that this is the case, we are continuing to look at our priority standards so that they can be able to know what students need to know, and we should see that number grow by the time they take it at the end of the year, knowing that we've hit every standard that they needed to teach. And then our attendance is doing well. As of the middle of the year it was, but right now we got a lot of flu A, B, and strep going around, so our attendance team is doing a great job keeping up. And I would like to continue to give a shout out to our parents. They are calling in, they are letting us know, they're bringing in doctor's notes. So they are letting us know where their children are every single day, and we will continue to work through that. Our culture goal was how do staff, are they doing what they need to do to fit in? And as of the winter, 93% of our staff said that they feel like they fit amongst their staff members, and we will continue that work. Also figuring out ways to support the few percent that do not feel like they belong. How can we support you? How can your team support you? It takes all of us to do that. So our action steps is we're continuing to review and looking at our priority standards and looking at our data every 6 to 8 weeks to make those adjustments to our groups. We have been able, tomorrow we're actually turning in our literacy plan to hopefully be granted that $200,000. The highlights of what we will be using that plan for, that will be coming to you for approval hopefully very soon, is for professional development to help teachers better understand and internalize our benchmark resource. We want to use it for intervention, to get some intervention tools to align to our benchmark so we are all moving together at the same time. Use it to create partnerships with organizations such as Link STL Still and Attuned, who we've been working with throughout the year. And we would like to use it to partner with Bridge to Hope, and their main goal will be helping us with parent engagement. So not only will we be learning how to be better instructors of reading, we want to also give those skills and tools to our parents so that they know how to help their children at home. And that means going home with books, making sure they understand what we do for benchmark so that they can be a bridge from school to home, and as well as diversifying our libraries. We would like to spend a portion of money just to upgrade our book. Our librarian has been going through our library and weeding it and getting us what we need, and we want to be able to replace that with more books for our students. So that's what we plan to use that grant for. Just in a nutshell, those are our top buckets. We will also be continuing to work on our PLCs, and this spring we will be working on small group instruction. What do we do when we have kids come to the table? How do we help them, and how do we make sure everybody's getting what they need so we can continue to work through our growth goal? Our preschoolers are also doing well and growing. I know you guys can see all of the graphs towards the end. And so overall, I'm just really proud of our team. It takes a lot of work, and it is a mental shift to move from a culture of teaching to a culture of learning from each other, doing peer observations, and learning how we learn, and being okay with that. And if we're wrong, it's okay too. So we're just working through that as a team. So does anybody have any questions?
I just wanted to say, because I know you guys are doing 2 new curriculums, right?
Yes.
I mean, so I just want to compliment you and your staff for being able to do that at the same time and get these results. So like it's really nice to see, because I know that's probably not very easy to do.
It absolutely is not. But we're making it through it.
Yeah, so that's great. One question is, when you talked about like with the math that's low, is it just that we teach things in an order that doesn't match what they're tested on? When you were saying like they spiral, is that what that means? Okay.
And because of STAR being adaptive,
Right.
they may not get the question again until maybe the spring they may get it.
Okay.
So we just have to wait and see.
That's what I thought. Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
I had one. In the October presentation, you mentioned professional development. One of your goals for this year is professional development for admin, support for strengthening Tier 1 practices and culture. Just one, but it's not on this list now. So did that get completed, or are you still hoping to add that back in?
Yes, so we have been going to executive leadership series every couple of months and just learning a little bit about how to strengthen what we do to strengthen our overall system in the school. I'm actually going to another conference next month and just finding ways. There's always things online. We're always sent things to do virtually, and we will continue to do those things depending on the needs of our school.
They also participate in Relay Professional Development too, which is the second phase of that this year.
And while I'm standing up here, next week is our Black History Living Museum for our select second graders. We have about 30 to 33 second graders that are participating. It's on Thursday evening from 4:30 to 6, and they love, and it's a huge, brave, courage event, and they chose to be a part of it, and they do such an amazing job. So I hope that you can stop by to encourage them and celebrate them for taking on that project.
Thank you. You're next. All right. We have the middle school with Mr. Zitzer.
I am Mr. Zitzer, the principal at the middle school, and so I'm going to go through our goals really quickly. We had our first goal. Both of our achievement goals are around whether students who fall into what the state considers a subgroup are growing. And so I posted what the average student who fell into that, what their MSIP score was based on their MAP data from last year, and then came up with a goal that showed or reflected a 5% growth. What we saw from our STAR testing in the winter was that the number on the left, the 6.17, was the average student, and then the number on the right was a student who would be considered in a subgroup. So we are seeing growth in reading. The reason I put not on target is because I can't quantify what 11.15 means on STAR for what it means on the map. They're 2 completely separate assessments. One is adaptive and one is based on grade level content. So I hope that that translates as students' reading level increases. Hopefully they're able to more adeptly answer questions at an 8th grade reading level or a 7th grade reading level. For math, I left it off because we had used a calculator. We were allowed to use a calculator the first time we administered STAR, and then we received information from STAR that we shouldn't use a calculator unless one is provided, and so it threw off the results for students. Because it's adaptive, kids who are getting 5th and 6th grade computation questions because they haven't surpassed that struggle with those, and we aren't necessarily reevaluating their fractional computation as 8th graders. And then we also saw kids who are getting high school level math that weren't allowed to use a calculator to do complex stuff. So I think we've worked with Rachel Ward to just make sure that STAR's recommendation for not using a calculator is accurate. But we did see growth in the 7th grade and more in stagnation in the 8th grade. But the 8th grade has only one assessment that they've ever taken. The 7th graders have had STAR for multiple years at this point. We did, though, administer a first set of finals for 7th and 8th grade. So we developed our own assessment that wasn't adaptive, that mirrors the map. and developed it using the DNA program that we've recently purchased. And so that was given to students. Teachers did not see it beforehand, similar to the map. I wrote both of them. And what we saw in there was that students were progressing. In the 7th grade with our own cut score, so we're guessing, right? The state doesn't tell us exactly what proficient is. So we set the cut score at around 65%, which is likely higher than what the state actually uses. And we saw similar numbers to what they currently were last year with a slight improvement. So that was new for students, right? Taking a final that doesn't count for us purely to get data from them. And so their attention to it and their achievement on it, I think was great. So attendance, that number was reflective of the end of December. And as January has ended, we've had, like everybody else, just a bunch of flu and illness. And so I anticipate that dipping a little bit when we get that report at the end of February. But I still think we'll be on track for 3 points. Getting that 90 might be a little bit difficult, but maybe we'll bounce back from flu season and everyone will come to school every day from here on out. So as far as our POC go, I put that we're on target. We're moving towards them being more run by our teams, but I think they've just done a lot of work. We split up the structure this year. We have content-specific PLCs, and between me and our instructional coach, Amir Garwood, splitting up how we're working with those teams and then adapting them. So they're meeting sometimes with her individually to work on their individual stuff. They're meeting together to look at broader things. And so with 2 new resources, meeting with ELA, trying to get them to work together on new content, and then also like having the time to plan and look through things for an entire new resource. Similar with math, they have a brand new resource, they're planning together. We're using a lot of that time to like plan as a team and look at lessons and make decisions about assessments. And so it's been good to have that time. And I think we're on the verge of being able to have those be led by the teachers and less led by us. And then with our culture goal is around students are frequently recognized for good behavior is one of the questions on the survey. And so you can see the data from students, families, and staff, and those are all higher than they've ever been on any time we've administered it. So it's not, the student one isn't quite at the 2.98% that we would like, so we're going to keep pushing towards improving that, but every one of those marks is higher than it's been since we started administering the survey. Oh, I have the control of this. Correct. So just some shifts and goals just to continue to move towards map testing time, and when we'll see some of the dividends of those first 2 goals is continue using our PLCs for implementation on the new resources. It's admittedly tough in the same way that Dr. Stansel talked about at the ECC. Like having new resources, these are competent teachers who have spent a lot of time teaching 7th and 8th grade math and ELA, but having a brand new resource is just having the ability to know the standards and know what to do doesn't mean you can implement a lesson that is meant to drive towards something you haven't done in the past. So they put a lot of work into planning for those, and we're hoping to continue to see the dividends of that as the year goes on. We had professional development in January about some school-wide implementation of reading strategies, just coming from the understanding that every teacher is asking kids to read all day long, but only one class is necessarily working on strategies to help students who might struggle to read at grade level. And so what are some pretty easy universal strategies we could use with vocabulary or summarizing that help kids learn how to read when they're in seat to table and not just when they're in their Comm Arts class or in their social studies class. Using the Renaissance DNA to develop formative assessments. We're starting with that in math and in science, but essentially that program will allow us to create assessments, align to standards, and then get immediate data back right away. Like no more grading, no more going through and analyzing which kid, like we see it all in a spreadsheet very clear, and we can start making decisions on how to respond to that data. And so trying to embed that and use that more frequently, 1, to save teachers time, but 2, to get to be able to focus our time on analyzing and not on grading. Targeted use of math support teachers for in-class intervention. So Ms. Demesian, the middle school teacher of the year, shout out to her. Using her more intentionally now that we have some of that data from the semester exams to be able to push into classes and target individual students. And then just continued application of our attendance team. I can't be more thankful to Ms. Brown and Naomi Warren and Amira Garwood and John Malloy and Dr. Graham for meeting with me and working with kids. They meet with kids on a weekly basis. Like, why aren't you coming to school? What do we need to get you to come more? Calling families, like every little bit of it. Even when we know like it's an illness, like we're still putting the effort in to make sure that kids are coming to school as often as we can. And then just continued implementation of our school-wide celebration strategies. So we've put whiteboards outside of our rooms to acknowledge students as they come in the building. We've tried to do more shout outs to attendance for individual advisories, just trying to do more things that celebrate kids for meeting our expectations that aren't just kids who are on interventions, which is kind of where we focus most of our attention for the past 2 years. Any questions? Yep.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. You were ready to go?
After you.
Okay, well, okay. I'm just wondering if you could talk a little bit about the change to the school schedule and how, like, moving to these meeting every hour of the day rather than the 4 and 4, how you feel that's impacting math, because that was an area that was of concern last year.
I think, I think we're making an observation about what has been different from one year to the next. Like the sheer amount of anxiety within the transition from 6th to 7th grade has been dramatically less. Like the amount of emails I get from parents and the kids who are crying in my office because the workload and the shift is more difficult, like that has dramatically decreased. And so their ability to then be able to move through content for that first quarter, it was vastly different than what it was in years prior. Like this transition has been significantly different for them. I think we probably need to do some more surveying of kids to feel like our 8th graders are the only ones who would know the difference. They had the block last year and now they don't. I haven't heard any specific complaints from them about it. I think that they really like their core teachers and like seeing them every day. And I think in general, like there's definitely a heavier workload for our teachers, and we have to acknowledge that, of having the students every single day and what that looks like. But I think in terms of continuity for kids, like missing assignments are down because you're not getting homework. You're not trying to make up for the lack of instructional time by providing more homework and then having 2 days go in between. I think we will have to be really intentional about how we transition kids to the high school, because part of the benefit of having the same schedule for 6 years was that we helped with that transition, and now we have created our own situation to help with the transition from 6th grade, and we'll have to assist 9th grade teachers in helping with the transition out of this. But I think overall it's been positive, and I think like we are pretty steadfast to move forward with the increased amount of instructional time within our core classes.
But do you feel that it's helped with the math instruction piece?
I think just continuity in general. Like I don't think we could have gone through this new resource with every other day.
Oh, okay.
At the speed at which we need to learn new material, learn new lessons, and then provide those to students and assess, I think we would have really struggled to keep up with that pace.
I just wanted to acknowledge my appreciation for your focus on the fundamentals, I think both in math and in reading. I'm really curious, especially seeing lower than I would have hoped for reading percentages at the high school too, around these school-wide implementation of reading strategies, and just what you're seeing with that, what sort of adoption supports there might be needed from board level.
So we just did the PP on it in January when we came back from school, so came back to school. So I think when we've been in classrooms, we've seen, we offered teachers 4 options of like, here's what we think could be universal strategies that you can use that you can implement tomorrow. So they're around summarizing, one was around vocabulary, some was around fluency of kids just reading out loud to one another. And so we've seen teachers kind of embrace individual strategies and use them more frequently. I think the vocabulary one is the one I've seen the most, and so one of the conversations we've kind of had is that it's really difficult for students to access text if they don't understand the vocabulary there. I think in general the conversation was around like, I don't think we were cognizant of how much we were asking students to read without ensuring that like we understood that each individual kid, like not everyone's a reading teacher, right? So like how one student accesses your text in your class versus another, giving them the opportunity to think more critically about that and be a little bit more aware. I think our teachers have adapted to that and put in strategies to ensure like, hey, when we're asking kids to read at 3 pages, which is probably more than they read straight in their comm arts class sometimes, are we providing them supports to ensure that they can access that text? I think we'll have a little bit more time before we'll see data shift on that, but I think the further you get away from the lower grades, the larger gaps you have in your class. It's just what happens. You have some students reading at a 3rd and 4th grade level and some kids reading at a high school level, and you're trying to provide them a text that they can all access.
So I don't know if you have any conclusions on this yet, but have you found like any differences in any of this growth of the new iPads that the middle school started using this semester?
I don't know if there's any data that we could find directed specifically to that. I think as a principal, it's nice to have a device that's a little more locked down than the Chromebooks were in terms of like what kids can be on. I get a lot less complaints about kids being on games because the device is locked down a little bit more. I think we still have some time to figure out whether the transition to them has been seamless or not. I think with time, though, everyone will adapt to a new device. I think some teachers have embraced being able to use it slightly differently than they were using a Chromebook, but getting them halfway through the year, I think we need to give teachers time to, in like a summer break, to think about how they're going to implement and use it. I think right now we're just trying to function with them similar to how we did Chromebooks, and if we have little tidbits here and there of how to be able to use them differently, teachers are doing their best to do that.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Now we have Ms. Elam with the elementary school.
All right, new MacBook here. I don't know why it won't, there it is. Okay. Good evening, everyone, Board of Education, Dr. Jameson, Central Office staff members, and MRH community and staff. I am Carlisha Elam, principal at MRH Elementary School, and I am excited to be able to represent MRH Elementary. I want you to know that this data is not just for me, or I don't own it, but all of the work that everyone puts in at our school to make it possible. All right, so right now, MRH Elementary is on target for all three major goals that we have for attendance, reading, and math. We're not just looking at the end of the year outcomes, but really tracking what we are doing across the fall to the winter. So our teachers are constantly working on SMART goals that they're creating within their units, and assessing students and progress monitoring along the way, and creating formative assessments together, and tracking that data and documenting it along the way. So our goal is to move beyond our fall baseline in reading of 68% on STAR and 53% in math through our data-driven instruction. We also, I want to celebrate our reading success. Our overall score is 71%. And so we're already exceeding where we started at 68% as the baseline. One of the highlights is that there was a significant reduction in the amount of students who were below basic. From fall to winter, we went from 12 to 9%, so that was something to highlight with us having a new resource this year. One grade level win is 6th grade, and 5th grade, and 4th grade, and 3rd grade. They all did an amazing job as we continue to move our students forward. Sometimes we see that our older grades do better than our younger grades as they continue to transition through the school, but we are really excited about the growth that 3rd grade was able to make this school year, because initially they were one of our lowest groups as in the fall screening. With math, we moved from 53% to 57%. One of our observations was like the growth that we saw in 3rd grade. In 3rd grade, they shown growth for our advanced students from 35% to 42%. And so not only are we growing all students, but we're also making sure that we're growing our highest learners as well, because many times we find that those are the students that kind of plateau. So that is showing that our teachers are being very intentional and utilizing the resources and the skills, and individualizing the learning for all students. As we look at our attendance, we're at 90.69% with the last email that we received. And so we were excited about that. Just like all other schools, the sick bug has hit, it even hit me. I was down all last week. So I know how it is, and we are just, Nurse Catherine knows. We are trying to, I don't know how she's making it every day because she's dealing with it all day long. We are still trying to make sure that we are meeting the needs of our students, and we feel like if school is a enjoyable place, students will more than likely want to come there. So we have, I mentioned before, we have our houses and different things that we have been doing this year that make it motivating, and we continue the attendance incentives that we have continued throughout the months, where we have our traveling trophy and they get popcorn and movie for the class that has the highest attendance for the month, and students really enjoy that. One of the things that we have seen as we go through the data for attendance, our fourth grade is really leading the way with attendance, but there are, like, our fifth grade is in needing opportunities where they're not meeting where our school-wide benchmark is. But one thing that we have done that is different is that we are having face-to-face meetings with parents just to talk about, is there something that we need to do? Like, we had a meeting with a parent and they were talking about how the kid, they go to work and the kid doesn't wake up. And they tried to call them, and we talked about getting an alarm clock, setting alarms on the phone, like trying to come up with different strategies to help parents to know how they can support with the attendance, because since we have young learners, they need assistance from adults a lot of times. So just continuing to be an asset to the community as we support them in this learning. So we will, as for our strategic shifts, continue doing our small group instruction with our consultant with the link. Our consultant will be coming to do walkthroughs, and they have look-fors that the teachers help to create based off of their needs. This will also help with us tracking, like, how our teachers are doing, and then providing additional feedback to help the teachers to know what they need to do, and if we have building-wide trends. We will continue to utilize PLCs to collaborate, and for professional development, we'll make sure that the administration and coaching team will continue to do observation and feedback aligned to what we are seeing within the classroom. And as I stated earlier, with attendance, we'll continue to be more intentional and having a more personal approach to making the attendance growth than we would like to see. So we are excited about where we are, and we're excited about where we're going. And that's all that I have for you this evening. Do you have any questions for me?
Does the elementary do the common culture surveys for the students?
Yes.
I know there's nothing on this presentation, but have you guys been making strides to get to any goals where, I don't know, maybe you're underachieving?
So our climate and culture data really this past school year was major growth for our school on all three levels. There are some opportunities that we have always, but right now there aren't. We talk about it as a BLT, but that's something that we can consider for next year.
Any other questions?
No question. I just want to give a shout out again to your houses. I think that's tremendous. I have an elementary kid, so yeah, she loves it. I know I've seen a significant improvement in the culture even just as a parent going in that building since that was implemented. So I think, yeah, kudos to everyone who helped implement that. I know it was hard. I helped roll shirts and distribute them, so I know.
Shout out to Ms. Cox and Ms. Weger who are spearheading that. It is a lot of fun. If ever you guys are available, whenever we have an assembly, it would be a time that you would have a lot of energy and loudness. So if you need soundproof headphones, just let me know.
Mm-hmm. They get excited.
Yes. All right, have a great evening.
Thank you. Thank you to all of you for coming, and I guess I know I shouted out with Dr. Stansel, but we know that a lot of you have implemented multiple new resources, and I forgot about the shift in middle school to every day. So thank you all, and to everyone in those buildings for all the hard work you guys are doing. So we appreciate it. Thank you.
I just got a message from Loretta. I think we probably need to turn the screen so we can monitor the chat. Her question was around elementary school goals, and Loretta, we did put that at the back of the presentation. If you go down further, indicates.
All of the data
Okay.
from every goal by grade level and by building.
We just kept the format the same and just dropped the data in at the backside. So if she goes through the slides, you can see it. I'm wondering if she's muted.
Sorry, Loretta. All right, next up we have athletic trainer update by Dr. Jameson. I'm excited for this one.
Not more than I am. All right. So I'm actually presenting this item for our athletic director, Rashad Davenport. And the purpose of our presentation today is just to highlight some of the ongoing challenges we've been having with securing a consistent athletic trainer for our school activities, and also discuss some of the inequities that exist throughout those. So there's another chart that's posted. I won't pull that one up, but over the course of the year, Mr. Davenport and the high school have explored 16 partnerships. 10 of those partnerships were unavailable. 5 of them were based on their staffing availability or game by game. And we had one partner who was available through a multi-year contract, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So we spent some time looking at the root cause, and so one was workforce shortages, and so a lot of the agencies already partner with larger school districts, and they don't have capacities for districts as small as MRH. Scheduling inefficiencies, so one of the things that we noticed is that if it was only one game scheduled, it wasn't beneficial for an athletic trainer to come out for one game, but if we had more than one game, they were more receptive to actually coming out. And then other things like snow days or last minute changes usually impact whether or not we received a trainer. And so we also looked at scheduling inefficiencies, and so which days actually showed some days being picked up quicker than others. And then also the trainers just prefer events that have multiple events scheduled over the course of 2 days. We did find by looking at the data that there are some inequities in events picked up for our male sports versus our female sports. So Mr. Davenport has been very busy, to say the least. One of the actions that he's taken so far is working to get the nurses trained so that they could potentially provide coverage when an athletic trainer is not showing up. Right now, we're trying to work through the cost for that. Currently, we pay for event workers $33 an hour, which would be the pay for that particular position. We're also exploring contracts for multi-year in preparation for next year. So SSM is one, and he's also identified another trainer that I have not yet received the name for, so we're going to compare what kind of options that they provide. In addition, we're looking at a cost comparison for those 2 contracts so that we can at least see what the pay differential will be. For both of those, they actually still would fit within the budget that we have, and at least we would have somebody contracted, and then we can vary their time slots. So some of the things that the high school students asked was wrapping for games. We can flex their time to come in for that, and then also looking at what days are earlier days and days that have later games. And so our next step action is to bring a contract to the board. So one, again, it may be SSM. The other, I'm still waiting for the final name for it. And that contract, hopefully we can attempt to put it in place for the remaining portion of the spring, which will start the contract and then have that contract to roll into the 26-27 school year. That concludes my presentation for Mr. Davenport. What questions might I answer for the board?
I've got a couple of questions. So the multi-year contract, is that $31,000 or whatever, is that for the 5 years or is that per year?
It's per year.
And how many multi-years, like how many years are we locked into?
So 3 typically is where they start.
And what exactly are they doing?
So that's one of the action steps for Mr. Davenport. He has requested to get a breakdown of the services that they provide. So the initial request was what was the cost? And so to ensure that we had the ability to do a comparison, that's the request of information we're looking for, because the companies may charge the same thing, but the quality of care and what they provide might be different. So we don't have that information yet.
I mean, so this is basically just game day preventive care, or in case somebody gets injured on the field but isn't injured enough to go to the hospital. So that's what you're paying for.
Well, they have some other services too, and so that's what the requested information is for. So some of them, they say it's full-time, but we define what full-time looks like. And so if you have basketball games that start at, say, 4 and those games go until 7, it still wouldn't include the full scope of work. So they could come in and do, not a athletic trainer, but here there's some stretching that they can do, some wrapping, and some preventative maintenance that they do with the students. So once we get the list of those items, we'll be able to do a better comparison to see what would be best for our students.
You know, I still don't understand what.
So so I have a child who hit their head during a basketball game, and there was no trainer there to assess her for concussion. So what it is, it's safety for the students, right? And I'm going to tell you, on that girls' basketball team, they could really use a trainer because they get hurt a lot, right? There were a lot of injuries.
I mean, I guess that's a good
so
example.
Yeah, it's like during a game, if someone's injured, you have someone there who has the knowledge and skills to assess the level of injury. So you're not putting poor Mr. Davenport or poor Miss Huffman there trying to figure out, and so. And it is standard. I mean, pretty much every team we play has a trainer there to do that, and they can come in before, like, the point is like wrapping or whatever to help prevent further injury. And I think Noe, you talked about a little, like doing cross country, like you had some sort of muscle injury that if you had a trainer you could work with, they could have helped you prevent worsening of that injury. So it's that kind of stuff, and it's very typical. I mean, even 30 years ago in high school, we had someone that did that, right? So, and I think it's a safety issue, and then also, and I will say the 32 is a lot less than what was being quoted. So, and my understanding is that it is so hard to get one that by locking into a multi-year contract, it puts you in a position where then you don't have that difficulty getting one year to year was sort of what I understood, because I've done some research into it too. But so that, yeah, so it's both those things. Sort of.
I mean, I guess again, I'm just kind of skeptical. It sounds like you could use a YouTube video to figure out how to stretch, or wrap your leg. And I mean, I just don't understand why you need to pay $30,000 to have somebody to.
Just for clarification, do we know like how many games we have, like sporting events a year that would cover?
So he's actually running that. So
it's a lot. I mean, it's
when we
hundreds.
met, and I will tell you, I was at a game and I saw a student get hurt, and also watching families be frustrated because we don't have a trainer there. So we have parents who are actually helping out during the games. I will say it is needed. I think the cost that we are looking at now, Mr. Davenport did a really good job of trying to scale down. The other company he thinks is a little bit more economical, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they will provide quality service. So what I'm interested in is us comparing to see what is going to be the best package for the kids that we're trying to protect. And once I get that and look at the price total, we'll bring a contract to the board in preparation for. I also don't know, just for the board's awareness, I know SSM does a multi-year contract. I don't know if the other vendor that Mr. Davenport is looking at does that. So we can take all of that in consideration when it comes back next month.
And also, it's my understanding too that more than half of high school students participate in a sport. So
Right.
you are reaching a large portion of our high school population with this cost as well, is my understanding.
As well, it's also my understanding, like, as someone that does sports, like, it's not necessarily just to have the person there, but it is a reasonable expectation that if you play a game, that school has a trainer. If we go to other schools to play soccer, play basketball, I know we're planning on hosting track conference this year, where that's, almost 100 kids that are competing that day out in the sun. So there's not, like, if we don't have one, that's a pretty reasonable expectation that these schools have that are coming here, that there's someone to provide for the safety and care of the competing schools.
And in fact, I think we can't host events if we don't have one.
I mean, I'm just saying that, I feel like, possibly we have other priorities
Yeah, I mean, I think this is potentially also an equity issue. Not everybody's family has access to the same kind of health care, and so I'm glad that Jenny can provide, services to her own child when, a concussion is potentially sustained, but I appreciate that the safeguard could be in place to make sure that all kids have access to participating safely.
I think that's a good point, because especially with some of this, it would be like physical therapy type stuff that a lot of people can't afford or have access to.
I will say it saves us money, because if a student gets injured, it goes through our music insurance, so we're paying either way if the families don't have insurance, and so that's been an issue too. So just a FYI on that.
Well, I just want to say I appreciate all the hard work. I know there has been a lot of research that has gone into this, and it has been a really tough. I reached out. It's a tough field. There is a shortage, so I appreciate all the work that has gone into this.
I would also like to add, in doing the research as PALB, this is not like a recent thing. When we went around asking a lot of the old athletic staff that have been like at MRH for a very long time, there has been like broad support for a trainer for decades, as far as my understanding goes, and like we've had them game by game, but it's kind of hard to get that, especially now, post-COVID, all the staffing shortages. So there's broad support for this, and there has been for a long time. So this would be very helpful to all the coaches at MRH.
Yep. All right. Yep. Thank you. All right. Next up, we have finance. We have fiscal year 26 January financial statements by Ms. Hunter.
I just wanted to address, I know last board member, there was a question about a check being issued before being approved. So I did get a chance to research that, Brian, for you. And that check was actually approved at the December meeting. And so we didn't violate any policies, and just wanted to make sure I said that for community.
Well, good evening, everyone. Good evening, board. Good evening, community. This is the January financial statements overview for MRH. As our pie chart shows, that we are basically still at that 84% percentage of local revenue. That is what the district is the main source of revenue. For January, we've reached a total of $20 million as in revenue for us. That's 63% of our overall budget. We are still anticipating receiving as early as tomorrow additional revenue from 2025 for taxes. So an additional $6 million is coming through for the district in that area. Our expenditures are still roughly the same percentage. We are at the halfway point of the year, so which means that we've spent 50% of our salaries and benefits budget. And also we are in a place where we have expended 50% of purchase services and roughly 56% of our salary supply expenditure budget. And with our overall expenditures at a total of $15.22 million for the year. One of the things that we've seen in the supply services category is, excuse me, one of the things that we see in the supply category is an increase over year, and that's due to mainly the district requiring or asking the schools to purchase their supplies earlier in the year than later. And then also we have seen an increase in the rates for Ameren, which we have an increased expense in that category as well. So are there any questions about our spend and or revenue for January? Easy.
Okay, sorry. Fiscal year 27 budget presentation 1, revenue.
So as we talk about 26-27 school year budget, there are a few things that we should keep in mind. That one, these are estimated figures because we do not have final numbers from the state nor the county. We also need to note that Governor Kehoe is looking to, as one of the constituents said, basically, he has put on the table, I'm sorry, lost my way. He has put into his budget the, I've drawn a blank, I'll come back.
But
I do apologize.
Not to fully fund the formula.
Correct. Thank you.
I think to fund it at maybe 80% or maybe at the top end. So that's a deep concern. Yeah.
Thank
You don't
you.
have to say it, I'll say it.
I appreciate it.
It's late, we've been going for a while.
That part. So as we go through the budgeting season, one of the things that we've already have taken a look at is what are driving our revenue factors for the upcoming year. What we are preliminarily saying is that there may be a reduced local revenue in our budget, and that's mainly because this particular year we budgeted for the receipts of revenue for the houses that we have put on the market. And so if we don't have that next year, then that's not new revenue for the district. Additionally, as we continue to spend the bond, that there will be less interest as a district that we're making. So that roughly right now looks like $446,000 that we may not have in next year's budget. We do anticipate seeing or expect to see an increase to the state revenue for the foundation formula. One of the other places that we're going to see a decrease in is our federal revenues. So in this year, Head Start will not go forward for next year. We have already been told that. We do see or anticipate Titles 2, 4, and both of our refugee grants going away. So we have a loss of funding there. And then we also are projecting, based on conversations with the state, a 20% reduction in Title I. So those are major, deductions to our budget that we have to find other ways in order to absorb either those costs in the budget or make some decisions on how we're going to do things differently. Here's just a high-level view of what that looks like. We see that between 26 and 27, we're looking at roughly a $687,000 decrease of revenue that can potentially come through for the district.
Which could be worse if the foundation formula is not fully funded. Right?
Correct.
That's the assumption, it's fully funded.
Correct.
It would depend on the legislature.
So for property taxes, we are in a non-reassessment year, so which means that our assessed value growth is going to be limited based on whether or not the Maplewood and Richmond Heights get new construction and or improvements. And we won't have what those rates may shift to, and they may move a little bit, but we won't know that data tentatively until March, with the final numbers not coming until September. So we will build the budget based on seeing how that plays out. If we estimate too high, I will want to play conservative with those dollar amounts. State funding. There again, basic formula, we're looking to see an increase for next year, an estimated increase. Same thing with Prop C, and we're going to hold right now Classroom Trust to the same level that we do have this year. So our next steps, we are continuing to roll out the budgets for 27 to our building leadership so that they can begin to build their budgets. We're also making sure, looking at position control and taking into account what salary increases may come along, and then also preparing to bring the expenditure budget before you guys next time, and also working on the budget documentation in order to bring a final package to you guys before or by June. Any questions?
No questions? All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, on to board communications discussion. First, we have calendar of events. And Noe did a lot of my heavy lifting here, but I'm going to repeat some. Tomorrow, February 20th, the Play It Forward benefit basketball game, benefiting a former student and a current student. I believe all proceeds will benefit those two individuals. The games begin at 4:30 at the high school. Saturday, February 21st, we have our summer camp resources fair from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Heights. Oh, and then Monday, gosh, I'll be in trouble since I think my child's facilitating this, is the girls basketball senior night, I think for girls, and it is the period product drive. So if you bring in a period product, you get in for free, right? Okay, thank you. I don't want to get that wrong. So, and as I hear it, they go through it very quickly at the high school. So any donations are much appreciated. Then we have Saturday, February 28th, is PTO Trivia Night at Immaculate Conception. Then I will let Julie take away this.
Yeah, no, this is my thing. Yeah, no, I'm not running it this year, yay, but I'm still in charge of finance, so I'm still going to give a shout out for it. All our tables are sold out, but we still welcome the community. We have a silent auction that's online, and if you still want to come and party and have some free beer, we're looking for volunteers still, so kind of pay attention to your Facebook pages and your emails for that. This is our biggest fundraiser for PTO, and I will give a shout out that we donate $10,000 toward the 6th grade capstone out of this fundraiser. So in order for that value amount to continue, which keeps, we used to think we paid for a lot of the trip. I think now we pretty much pay for a lunch. But we try, but yeah, please donate. Thanks.
Thank you, Julie. And then March 3rd, there is a community conversations from 6:30 to 8 p.m. I'm guessing this is an in-person one? Maybe, because last one was virtual. Okay, well, stay tuned. One of the two. And then March 5th to 7th, the middle and high school production of The Outsiders. Our theater productions are phenomenal, so I'm sure this one will be amazing as well. So please come join. And then does anyone else have any other events or dates they want to share? All right.
Oh, real quick. Go ahead, Loretta, I think.
At the elementary school, 4th grade concert is coming up on March 11th. And then museum nights are coming up on April 1st and April 2nd.
So 4th grade music concert, March 11th, and museum nights in April.
Thank you, Loretta, for...
1st and 2nd, April 1st and 2nd.
Oh, and then the living, Dr. Stansel, right? Mm-hmm. Was that at the ECC? Mm-hmm. Yep. Was that next Thursday from 4:30 to 6 p.m.? All right.
And then the Meet the Board Candidates Forum at the high school is March 26th. There's a form linked on the calendar where you can submit any questions ahead of time. And we'll definitely look through all of them just to see what you guys want. And we will take questions from the audience. So come on.
All right. And next we have board committee reports. Anyone have any?
Well, 4R Resources met last week, but you heard a good report about it, more or less.
I think you heard pretty much everything you're going to hear on 4 Resources. Joe's Place is in the process of hiring a new house family for the place, and they revised the memorandum of understanding between Joe's Place and the district, and that will be coming to us at some point in the future.
All right. Any other reports?
I have one.
Oh, Loretta has one.
We had our parent panel for college tour advice last week. 14 people attended live. 18 have watched on YouTube, and Ed can help with information.
Brian, are you able to sort of
amplify
what she said?
College tour panel.
Oh, yes.
Was last week. 14 people were in person, and I think she said 18 people watched online. And she said Ed could provide more information. Okay.
Yeah, yes, please, share. Because I think it was a very helpful panel about like doing college tours, and it's a process. It's a whole thing. So
Yes, we did this in a great space that I just kind of discovered, the health room beneath student services. It's a big double room. Anyway, we had 3 parents who have somewhat recently taken their kids on college tours, and they shared their experiences. You know, some things were great, some things were harrowing, but you know, the attendance was, like she said, we had 14 people in person and others in the room, like Ms. Huffman was there, and Vince moderated it. They had great questions, and I'm so glad that we recorded it. I'm going to push it out again because the information is timeless, really, you know. And I just want to thank one of the participants was in the room earlier, but she left. Anyway, it was terrific, and we're going to do it again. So.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Loretta.
I was going to say, the SSD Governing Council has its next meeting on Monday, March 2nd. Normally I would be attending. My work just asked me if I could attend a different event that night, and if I kind of have to pick between the two at this point, but if there's a board member that would be open to attending, there's going to be elections of people to join the board, the SSD board, and there's 2 candidates in each of, well, 1 candidate in one district, 2 candidates in 2 other districts. And so that's the main item on the agenda, as well as, of course, the budget repair going on. So if there's a board member that'd be able to attend in my place, I'd be grateful. If not, I'll have to arrange things. Monday, March 2nd. They do provide a light little dinner.
You can probably forward it to me. I think I can probably.
You'd be able to go?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Julie.
Thank you, Julie.
And I'll stick with the, I mean, I can continue with the,
Yeah, that's fine.
the one after that in June.
I'll give you the clip notes.
I was going to say, I think our district representative is up for reelection, but I believe there's only 1 candidate. Right.
Yes, in our district. Yeah.
All right. All right, well, Noe did my work again. I have my school board election update for the 3rd or 4th time. Everyone, we really want you to come. It is the Student-Led Candidate Forum, March 26th from 6 to 8 p.m., and it will be live streamed and recorded. All right, last we have State of the District.
So just wanted to start off and thank everyone from the community who had an opportunity to attend. On January 10th, we saw about 36 community members, families, residents, to get an update on the district's progress on the strategic plan. This was a new format this year, and we got a bit of feedback, so I'll pull that up. Not as many community members to complete the survey, but it is feedback nevertheless, and so I want to summarize some of it. Here it is. So just to quickly go through, I combined columns. So the first question on the survey was how clear was the information shared about the state of the district, and about 92% of the 13 participants said mostly clear or very clear. We did have some Post-it notes, so I tried to look at themes for those. We definitely have work to do around Canvas, consistency around how Canvas information is showing up. And then the other item that came up was attendance reporting. I believe that Ed was able to address some of that as well. Other themes that came out of the post-its that we received was continue work PK-12 on executive functioning skills, and the request for a social worker at the elementary school. And then on the academic side, there were questions or concerns about continuing to support the music program in the middle school and high school, as well as PLCs, better understanding their use and the frequency of meeting. And then the connection of real-world learning to our current curriculum was an area of focus for a attendant. The other question that was posed was around how confident the participants were in the direction for the districts. So 92.31% said that they were either very confident or confident. So it appears that we are moving in the same direction, always interested in those who feel that there's more work to do. So we do have committees if people are interested in actually joining those. Question 3 was centered on the information shared around district finances, facilities, and bond projects. 84.61% of the participants indicated that that information was either very clear or mostly clear. And then the question related to how well the district engages families, 91.67% said very well or either well. And question 5 kind of dove into the commitment to staff, culture, and retention. And 75% said very well, and 16.67% said somewhat, and 8.33% said not well. And so one of the things I do want to highlight just publicly is that we've been improving our retention rate. So the previous year's retention rate was 95%. The year before that was 93%. So we have made a concerted effort to address the needs of staff so that they will want to stay here. I did go through and look at what additional information or questions that our community was interested in. So a lot came out around finances and wanting to know more about how bond funds are being spent. Other information around the district's metrics for our people, so we'll continue to unpack that more. And then the one that I thought was most interesting was looking at metrics to better understand the social and emotional health of our staff and how they are faring. The last piece that I looked at was what areas would they like to see continued focus, so I broke those into groups. So there were 8 responses total. 5 of those responses were directly related to teachers at 63%, and there were 3 responses that actually related to all groups, which was about 36%. So for teacher specifically, it talked about increasing the discussions being had around professional development for staff. So I am eager to learn a little bit more about that because we've been having some very critical conversations about professional development, and then also the request around tracking social emotional health for staff and then staff retention. So that one I think is probably most interesting that one's coming up because staff retention for the past 2 years have been 93 and 95% consistently. And of the individuals who completed the survey, we had 10 of the respondents were parents or guardians, 2 were staff members, and 1 was a community member. So just wanted to give an update and also ask for feedback. I really like the format, but I'm curious to hear from the board of shifts and things that you would like to see differently as we continue with this.
Loretta posted a comment. She really enjoyed the opportunity to engage directly with the community members that attended. She loved the format of the event. Thank you.
Thank you.
Agree? Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else? Yep. All right. We are now on to action items. Cafeteria equipment purchase contract. May I get a motion?
I move to approve the cafeteria equipment purchase contract as presented. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, next we have the HVAC equipment purchase contract. May I get a motion?
Sure. I move to approve the HVAC equipment purchase contract as presented. Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, Prop B furniture pilot purchase.
I move to approve the Prop B furniture pilot purchase as presented. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, bus driver salary schedule.
I move to approve the revised bus driver salary schedule as presented. Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, I move to enter executive session in accordance with section 610.0201, subsections 1, 3, 9, 13, and section 610.022 of the revised statutes of Missouri on February 19th, 2026 for the following specific reasons: personnel matters, legal matters.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Mr. Colbert?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Metz?
Yes.
Ms. Kaufman?
Yes.
Ms. Francois?
Yes.
Ms. Schmidt?
Yes. And then Lorette, we gotta do Miss.
Oh, Ms. Holden?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you all for coming.